Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining tonight with fun with Saber Effects for Proffieboard. See, Max is here. Hey, Max. Before I get started, I'll just see if we get more guys joining and ladies. Make sure that's working. All right. Hey, Ken of the Hill. So I got a couple things I'm going to talk about tonight. I know first and foremost everybody's excited about battle mode, so I'm going to give a few minutes or just a little bit of time for some people to join, just so that they can catch that, because I think that's probably what a lot of people tune in for. And then we'll get I've got a new effect that I'm building that I wanted to use as another kind of teaching mechanism on the editor. So hey, Chet and Craig, thanks for joining, guys. So I guess we'll just start with the Rodney. Yes, battle mode. That's what I'm going to start off with, because I know that's what everybody's got to tune in for. But I do have more than just battle mode to go over tonight. But if you're just here for battle mode, if you just want to kind of see it, get some updates on it, no worries. I am going to go over a new style also, and hopefully fit all that into the time frame. But so first and foremost, battle mode is we're going to be doing alpha testing shortly. So I'm going back and forth with Frederick in order to get the code cleaned up, and he has suggestions how to make some of the things a little bit cleaner. But it's working really well. I'm going to do a demo in a minute once I have a few people in, and then but I would say some point this week it should be in the alpha download, which you'll get through GitHub. I'll have a whole write-up. It'll be TRA will be the main source, because that's where Frederick actually posts the alpha thread. Actually, let me set that. So we'll go to there. Yeah, so just for those of you who are joining, so ProffiOS 5 is already in alpha, and there's a number of things that Frederick's actually added. A lot of stuff for new props, like MyCom, Audio FX, also adding the Teensy4, which is new Arduino. And then there's a few new functions, as well as I think the bigger one, and the reason that OS 5 is coming, is the support for those bigger, longer serial pixel strips like the one KR Sabers has, where I think it's 264 pixels. That end up they just needed some optimization, so OS 5 is handling that. But battle mode is going to get rolled in, and if you haven't seen battle mode, I am going to demo it, but I think anybody who's tuning in here has probably seen it. But battle mode was something I was testing. It was actually something else, which I'm still going to get back to. I was working on something else that I wanted to make work, and in putting together for that, I ended up figuring out that this works actually really well, and then tweaking it worked even better. And when I realized what it was actually able to do, that's when I kind of switched gears and did battle mode, and I did those proof of concepts, and then showed it to Frederick. And talking to Frederick, he thought it was cool, which is whenever he says something's cool, that's kind of like the big yay. So we're going to put it into OS 5, and it's going to be a prop file. So there is going to be some style aspects to it. I'll have the write-up, but it's mostly just going to be enabled with a prop file. So you're going to put, at first it'll be my prop file. I'm sure SA22C and Dimitri will eventually get it added to theirs after it's tested out. So in alpha testing, it will be just my prop file added in your config. You'll load OS 5 and then be able to play with it. And then once we get it totally set, then it'll be more available. And there is a chance that it could become default, because Frederick did make mention that if it works well enough, that it might be something maybe we just make default. But at the onset, it is going to be a mode, and I'm going to go through that. And I see some chats. I have two screens going, so if I'm missing your chat, don't worry, I'm going to go back and catch up with them. I was just getting the intro out of the way. But so if you're interested in OS 5, if you go on to TRA, if you go to the alpha ProffiOS 5 alpha test alpha thread, OS 5 is already available for alpha testing. Battle mode's not there yet. I am working with Frederick to get it there, and it's working. It's really just a matter of getting the code cleaned up and kind of dotting the I's, crossing the T's. So I expect this week to be able to make an announcement, have a write up, and have it ready to go. But so let me see a couple of questions. Let me switch. I think I've got to switch gears again. And there we go. So Max, yeah, I'm going to show it. So with everything that's possible on these boards, you're always going to need some kind of button. I mean, you can get away with more and more with gesture without buttons. But I think I answered this question for you someplace. I feel like I've answered it. But there's certain things that first of all, there's still only so many gestures you can do, and some gestures are very close to others. So you can't have like some things just won't work distinctly with gestures. So there's always going to be a need for buttons for some reasons. In addition, the motion chip, there is a timeout that you can set, but there's a motion chip that when your blade is off, it tries to go to sleep to save power. If that stays active for the whole time, as I understand it, you're just burning through battery for nothing. And without that motion chip active, no gesture is recognized, which means your Saber is just going to stay off, which means you have to ultimately kill power, turn the power back on just to get it to wake up. But having a button, as soon as you push the button, that obviously fixes that. And then certain things like blast, and I'm going to show blast, lightning block, changing colors, changing fonts also, running through presets. You're probably always going to need at least one button. I think with gestures now, it's made what one button can do a little bit wider. I pretty much every Saber I have, except for my very first Obi-Wan episode 1, has 2 buttons, just because I'm always trying to come up with new stuff and I don't want to be limited. So I would say if you go no button, you're gonna have to give something up. It might be fine for what you want to get accomplished. I think you can do a lot more with gesture, but I think you're still going to want some kind of button somewhere. Particularly, there's just so much more coming. I've got a bunch of ideas that I haven't even played with yet, and I know Frederick's working on a bunch, and there's other guys now contributing. So if you limit yourself with no buttons and something really cool comes out that needs a button, you might regret it. So I'd say buttons are probably still going to be needed, but they're maybe not. You don't have to use them all the time now. And let's see. Yeah, I'll show this. So this will be part of the write-up. So the plan will be once everything's worked out with Frederick and it's added to the alpha test for download, I have a write-up that I've actually been kind of adding to, explaining everything. First of all, how it works, what you have to do to get it to work, how the defines work, what the styles are, and then ultimately what to look for and how to test it. So there'll be a lot of documentation, a lot of write-up and all that. So it is all coming, but I just wanted to kind of just give everybody a thing there. So let me switch over to my remote camera. I think that's it. All right, bear with me a sec. I think I have the camera up, and hopefully everybody can hear me. I can't see the chat when I'm over here, though. Yeah, you see a door, okay. So I have to go around the corner, because I have a very small office, so I won't be able to see your chat, so I'm really hopeful everybody hears me. All right, so if you can see me good. Looks like I'm on camera. All right. So everybody should have seen battle mode by now. If you haven't, what battle mode is going to be is it's a new profile. What it does is it changes how lockup, clash, melt, and drag work on your Saber, and it turns them totally into gesture control. And what that means is typically in your normal Saber, particularly Proffieboard, if you wanted to do a lockup, you would hold the aux button and you would clash. There's a few other methods on different profiles, but usually there's a button involved with lockup. What the smart lockup, which is part of battle mode, is it actually doesn't need the button anymore. It basically is, it's gesture control. It means what happens with the Saber is going to tell it what affected you. So if I just hit something and move, it does a clash effect. And the clash effect, the visual that I've been showing is a full flash on clash. You can do localized clash also. I like the full clash on clash, that's why you see it, so I have a few questions about that. You can style the clash however you want, and that's going to be in the write-up. Now, if I hit something and I keep my saber still, it's going to do lockup until I pull away. And it's all gesture control, so when the clash happens, if your saber stays relatively still, there'll be a little bit of bounce and stuff. There is actually a delay built in that you can modify because some hits have different resonance and stuff. But if you hit something, keep your saber relatively still, it's going to do a lockup. If you hit your saber, and this comes off of kind of practicing too. Usually when you hit, like I'm not great at dueling, but I do with my son. When you're even in the films, when you're not trying to lock up, you're going to hit your blade and you're going to move it away to get ready for the next attack. So it's a more natural motion. So you hit, move away, and you get a clash effect. You hit, keep it still, you get the lockup. And the lockup, you can still use responsive. You can still move it. It's really that away motion that does it. And part of this will be learning that gesture, because I still miss it occasionally. If you don't get enough of a pull away, it doesn't see it. And there's some settings you can do for that, but it's that's how you do that. Now, what I did also was, again, looking at the films and just from playing, there are times where you try to block low in a duel, in the films or whatever, or lock up low. How drag worked was drag would trigger if your blade was down. So in battle mode, that goes away, and it has to be a stab motion. So if you stab, you're going to get the drag. And I hope that's on film. And then when you lift away, it goes off. So battle mode changes the drag from being a clash while you're down to being a stab while you're down. And stab is basically, it's a linear motion until the contact, whereas a clash is any kind of movement. And then lastly, melt basically replaces stab, and melt becomes just a stab that's not pointing down. So if you're basically, so I have it built so that it's about a 45 degree, and down goes drag. And then at 45 and all the way up would do the melt, although I guess if you don't want to melt the ceiling, you could. But then melt is just a stab, gets your effect, and then when you pull away, it's going to essentially end it. So all those gestures are there. The other thing that I've had questions about that I haven't shown is the blast. So blast and lightning block are going to typically be button controls. So lightning block will be the same. And part of the reason for that is there's no real good gesture for that, and it's an imaginary force acting on the saber, so it's really hard to figure out how you would gesture that. So that's always going to be button control. But on my prop file, multi-blast will work in battle mode. So if you go into multi-blast, so if I hold the aux button for a few seconds and let go, you'll hear a blast, but you won't see it. So now I'm in multi-blast, and every swing is a blast deflection. So blast is not going to be fully gesture controlled. You'll have to go into multi-blast mode, but you can have multi-blast active in battle mode to make blast somewhat gesture controlled. Now, because of, this is mostly from use, if you clash during multi-blast, it ends multi-blast, and you will have to hold the button again. Or if you hit the blast button again, it'll end multi-blast. Part of that is because, just from thinking for use, if you're blocking, and then you're going to actually get into combat, if you start swinging your saber and having blasts, it gets really weird. So if you clash in battle mode, or basically if you clash at all, it ends multi-blast. So multi-blast will still need the button to trigger it on and off, because it will turn off. But now, with multi-blast combined with battle mode, you can get gesture control blasts. So that was the piece that I had a couple questions about that people haven't seen yet. And then the last piece with battle mode is it disables your power button, so you don't accidentally hit it. Now, it depends on your hilt, but I know some of my sabers I accidentally still bump that power button. And I know other prop files have like a held and stuff. This just deactivates the power button. Your power button can't do anything to turn the saber off. The only way to turn the saber off in battle mode is twist, or you can exit battle mode. And what I've done is battle mode is automatically activated if you use any gesture on. So swing on, activates battle mode whether it was on or off. Stab on, activates battle mode whether it was on or off. And, oops, there's a delay there. Twist on, activates battle mode on and off. And my new prop file, the other piece, because I know some people had some tricks with this, the twist on and off has a built-in delay now. So if you accidentally twist it too much, it will only do one action or the other. Some people were over-twisting, and then it wasn't, it was turning on and off too quick. So that's also in there. So again, there'll be a big write-up on it. And I have not seen any chat, so if I haven't gone back to this because I'm over here. So I'm going to switch gears, and I'm going to catch up with chats. I got to switch the screen. Okay. All right. So let me look at these chats. I got to roll back. So, hey, wow. Thanks everybody who joined. Wow, a lot of people joined them. That's pretty cool. All right. So where did we leave off? The room has nice crown molding. Hey, all right. Yeah, the power button being disabled. Yeah. So, Sebastian, yeah, that was one of the ones. So what I've been doing, and you know, my son, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I've been my whole life. My dad, he worked all the time, but he wasn't big into Star Wars. But my son has grown up with Star Wars so much to the point that he doesn't know how lucky he is. And it's a lot of fun for me, but sometimes I have to drag him to do stuff. But this, when I showed him battle mode, he was pretty cool with it. So he'll do stuff with me, and he does like Star Wars. But you know, it's your dad, and it's fun. But when we were doing the battle mode, that's how I knew it was a winner, when he was really actually into it and trying to learn that gesture stuff. And the learning curve was, I mean, he's 13, and he learned it in 5 minutes. And you still got to get used to it, but it's not hard to learn it. But that's how I knew it was good. But while we were doing it, him in particular, he would occasionally hit that. The power button and have the blade go off. So so basically, I figured if you're dueling, you really don't want your saber going off unless you want to lose. So we deactivate the power button, but you still have to have a way to retract it if you wanted it. So that twist off is going to be the method, or you can exit battle mode. Let's see. Hey Jeff, thanks for joining. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot coming. So I'm glad everybody was able to join. Now, so are there? And if anybody who missed the very beginning, I was trying to hold off and let people join. Basically, I'm in the home stretch of getting it added to the alpha. I've put in the pull request, which is where it gets added, and Frederick just has notes for me to update. And I have a couple more fixes. Not fixes, but improvements I got to put in place. Everything's working great. It's ready to be tested. Now it's a matter of, I've said it before, I'm not a programmer by trade. I've kind of self-taught. So when it comes to actually getting it into the OS, I do have to take Frederick's kind of advice and lead to make it work better. And in some cases, I have like extraneous code that's in there that isn't necessary, or sometimes I have it like I'm doing it one way, but there's actually a better, more efficient way that Frederick knows of. So he gives that. So it's a lot of back and forth. So I'm expecting the next couple of days to have everything ready to go. There'll be a big announcement. I'll post on Facebook, and it'll be on TRA. And anybody who wants to alpha test it can. The alpha test I did show earlier is not just battle mode. So OS 5 is in alpha testing already. There's a lot of stuff Frederick's already built into it. So there'll be other stuff to test as well. But I'm sure I know a lot of people already, I've had a lot of PMs saying, hey, can I get a hold of it? And it's not done yet, because once it's in the OS, that means it passes Frederick's requirements, which means then it's ready for everybody else. I had it as a proof of concept and then moved it along to the point now where it'll be in there. And then even during alpha, we'll fine tune it and tweak. And then, as I said earlier, if it pans out and works really well, I'm sure the other guys like SA22C and Dimitri will add to their prop file. And Frederick has said it could get added to the default prop file. And it could even, some aspects of it might actually become just default. So the clash lockup in particular could, in theory, always be gesture controlled, just because of how it works now. I answered this question in a few places, but Chet, I got to learn this, but yeah, that was a possibility. I actually have, again, battle mode came out of something else I'm working on. and there's something else that I might need that button for if I can get it working. So that's the other piece of this puzzle is as you come up with features, there is a finite amount of controls available. It's expanded, but there's still some stuff that I hope to get working now. It might not be in the immediate future, but what led to battle mode is something that I think is actually really cool and I'll have a lot of use to. But it got put on the back burner once I figured out that this whole clash lockup with gestures actually works really well. And I actually, it was only a few weeks ago, I was working on something else and bouncing some ideas off of Frederick, and he was on vacation. So I just kind of started messing, and it did something. I was like, all right, how does this work? And it worked, and it worked pretty well immediately. And then I really had to fine tune it because there was a little bit, but it kind of just happened. So it's one of those wow kind of things. But so for right now, again, and the other guys, when they add this stuff to their prop file, they could add other controls, and you can always modify. You could add it so that you have a hold button in battle mode. It'll, the prop file, you can edit, so that'll be it. But at the onset, it's going to be either just exit battle mode or use the twist off. But certainly either modifying the file or over time, we'll get around to adding other stuff. Everything is editable essentially. Let's see. So how did I learn? A lot of trial and error, and I think I've broken my fair share of eggs. So I did, it's over a year ago. I wanted to try my hand at color change for Proffi, which is kind of what got me into it. And Frederick held my hand the whole way. But it got to a point where I was asking him so many questions that anybody who wanted to do this stuff should have known. So he said, if you really want to do this, you should probably read a book. And, there's two ways to take something like that. Either somebody's, saying, hey, you're bothering me, or it's advice. And in his case, it was advice. So I got two C++ books. I do have a little bit of experience. I'm old. I'm old school. I hand coded HTML back in college for some friends. Actually, for the 501st Legion, which I've been part of now for 26 years. I did the first website for the Empire City Garrison, which is the New York extension of the 501st Legion. And back then it was all just in Notepad doing HTML. And I had taken HTML in college as kind of a side course. So I do have some experience with HTML, but that was like forever ago. But once you learn syntax and stuff, at least I think you can, if you get books and you learn it. I forget the exact book, Max, but so at any rate, I got two books on C++. They were the beginner's guides. They were just the little ones, they're not the big, thick, like school ones, just to learn the syntax. So ProffiOS is written in C++, but a lot of it is kind of custom stuff that Frederick's put together. So if you learn and you don't have to do this, so that's the other part of this. People who are joining who don't have Proffieboard or who have heard Proffieboard needs a lot of programming, that's only if you want to do this crazy stuff, or if you don't want to wait for somebody else to do this crazy stuff. You can totally use Proffieboard without having to be able to do this. I just happened to want to tinker. I got that color change working. I worked with Sa22C to get it to his fork, because at the time, Frederick didn't want color change in the main OS. So it was kind of like, if you wanted it, you do it yourself, and if it works, do it as a fork. And I didn't know how to do a fork, so I worked with Matt. So we got it in, and then it was popular. And then once it was popular, Frederick saw that enough people wanted it, and he was open to have it added. So it got rolled in 3.9. And not only did he roll it in, he actually obviously took it and did a ton more with it. So which is always the case. That kind of sometimes even just a little seed can turn into a lot of big things. But so now color change got in, but I had kind of had my feet wet. So I've kind of always since then been trying to figure out how to do other stuff. And a lot of it just, I'm just like, hey, it'd be cool if this happens, or if you could do this. So I try to do it. Let's see. Let me catch back up. I feel like I'm rambling, and I apologize for that. So new secret feature. New secret feature. I can't 100% say it's going to pan out, so I don't want to say anything till it pans out. So if anybody who follows my videos, pretty much the day I get something to work well enough, I post it. I was working on a piece of a puzzle that multiple pieces are needed to get to, and that first piece I was working on turned into this. I've got, in reality, there's probably 3 other pieces that would have to come together to get what I was going after to work. So it'll be there, but it'll be a new surprise. So that's the great thing with Proffi, is we can have new stuff all the time, and have new sabers all the time. The KR strips, yeah, OS5, Max did reply, OS5 handles it better. I actually haven't gotten back to testing, and that's because I've been focusing on battle mode. But I do have one. In testing in 4.8, if you set the max, the 2 values, so the top of config value, which is like the max LEDs per strip, and the blade length to the 264, excuse me, oh, my throat's getting dry, or 269 if you have the pixel connector. It works pretty well. On the 4.8, when I was initially testing, the fire-based styles were having some trouble, and there was a lot of modification needed, and several of my unstable styles run on fire, and I couldn't get them to the point that I was happy enough with them. So I knew Frederick was already working on the fix in OS5. So now I just have to get OS5 and test it with the strip, which I'll get back to after I'm done with this. So it is more coming. Yeah, 4.8 still. Oh, the +1. Okay. Yeah, there was. Yeah. So Brian's been following this too. So the KR strip, I think the OS5 is already handling it better. From what I've heard, I haven't tested it, but that was part of what led to OS5 coming out kind of so quickly. Was that fix coming in, plus the other stuff Frederick's been working on that he wanted to get added. But so I would say OS5 will handle it better. And then when I test it, I still think a few of the styles, they're going to need modification. So the one I was messing with, if you want to test, I would say do it in OS5, but the fire ones, if you have the fire styles where you're getting those big blank spots, or it's moving like super slow, the speed, which is typically the 4th parameter, 4th in the style, you can typically up that by 2, and it'll perform a little better, and then up it a little more from that. That's what I was messing with. But some of my unstable styles, because of everything being layered together, it wasn't doing enough for me to be happy with. But I haven't tested OS5, so hopefully OS5 fixes it good enough. But yeah, so there's some stuff related to that. Right. So yeah, so battle mode on the way, should be this week. I've got to make a couple more changes that Frederick suggested, test them out, and then we'll get that. So that'll be coming. I do have a style I built that I want to walk everybody through to kind of teach, but I know battle mode is on the top of everybody's mind. So if anybody has any other questions about battle mode, drop them in the chat in the next minute or so. I'll try to address them. And once we get into alpha testing, I'll probably do another kind of live chat with everybody just to get questions answered for those of you who want to test or who are testing. It's been pretty intuitive once you get your hands on it. Yeah. So as I said earlier, my son already has been using it pretty well, and he's got it down pretty good. And it's really the biggest piece of that puzzle is that pull away motion. You've got the pull away. You can tweak it a little bit, but because of everything involved, it's kind of got a Goldilocks spot that I found because I was testing other changes to it, and it moved out of that area where it made sense very quickly, where you either had to do such a drastic move to make it work, or any little move was triggering it. So I kind of what's going to come in the alpha test is kind of what I'm calling the Goldilocks and it worked on. I tested it on multiple hilts, and they all have the board at different spots, and it was working pretty well for all of them. So I took that, but there will be some fine tuning related to it. But a lot of it's really just learning what movements do what with your blade and being able to replicate them. But I'm not seeing any more battle mode questions. I'm hoping that means I answered everybody's question, not that I bored everybody to death. Thanks. Yeah, I was. Yeah, I mean, it's you're not supposed to pat yourself on the back, but when it worked, I was kind of like, holy, like I was like, I can't believe that I actually did that. So yeah, that one, this one, I'm very proud of, and I'm very excited for everybody to get it. So it's coming. I gotta fit in with Frederick's code before everybody can play with it. So for what on my Saber in my test environment, it doesn't matter if I've got some extraneous code or I've got something maybe not 100%, perfect. He's got to. I've got to obviously get it to match what the requirements are for the OS before it gets in there, but it's really close. So, um, cool. All right, so I'm going to switch gears. Let's go over to this here, and we will go to you. All right. Oh, no, not at all. Yeah, if yeah, I don't mind being tagged. If I don't get back to it, because same with PMs. If you guys hit me up on Facebook or through TRA and I don't get back to you right away, it's just life. Job, kids, wife, housework. I try to respond and keep track of everything that's going on. But first of all, every free minute lately has been trying to get this battle mode up and running. So I've neglected some other stuff that I have to make up for. So the next couple of weeks will probably be a little lighter online. Yeah, I got to make a good balance. But all right, so what I'm going to show you guys today is, and I know Brian, you were asking for this, so I found a way to fit this in. Is using the multi-transition effect. Now transitions. Again, if you're familiar with my styles in my library, I use transitions for a lot because there's pretty much unlimited potential with them. And what multi-transition effect is really just, it's to allow you to have multiple effects or multiple style effects on the same effect. So we're going to build towards that. So I've already started it. So what I've already got it kind of laid out so I don't waste too much of your time. So, hi, Sith Station. I see a few more people actually joining in. I don't actually build lightsabers for sale, so I can't do a giveaway. I do build sabers for myself. But I am not actually an installer. I get that question a lot. I know I post a lot of lightsaber stuff, but I'm not an installer. Part of it is I'm a hobbyist. I can solder and I can put these together well enough for me, but I'm not quick, I'm not efficient, and I'm not looking to spend that time there. My time is usually spent on trying to do cool stuff with the Saber after it's built. So I don't have any kind of giveaway. I give away all my styles and I give away all the features. That would be what that is. All right, so here's what we're going to build. I've got it up on screen. So we're going to create an ice blade. And what I'm doing for an ice blade is I'm actually going to do this style that I thought of. I kind of had it in mind for a little while. Is I want an effect where I'm going to freeze my blade and I'm going to turn my blade into ice. So I'm going to show you how we're going to build it to kind of teach multi-transition effect, which we'll get to, as well as kind of how you can take a really simple thing and with the transitions that are available actually really layer it up and make it pretty cool. At least I think it's cool, and hopefully you agree. So what we've got here first off is I've just got two layers right now. I've got my base red and then I've got a transition effect for force, and I'm using force. So the force effect on your Saber typically is just a sound font, and it makes the force sound, but it does have the ability to trigger a visual effect. So it started with OS 4, where I do have the force boosts, and what we do with force boost is we use the force effect to trigger something on the blade, and there's multiple options. So force effect is kind of like, to me, it's like a free slot for you to do some really cool stuff with. So, chat's going on for me. Hey, Tom. Hey, Megtooth. Yeah, no worries. You missed battle mode. I'm stepping into something different if that's what you joined for, but this will be available to watch back. Sith Station. I'm in North Carolina with Megtooth. I'm born and bred New Yorker, but 10 years ago I moved to North Carolina. So I do call North Carolina home, but I am 100% pure New Yorker. So some people think that's a good thing, some people think it's a bad thing, but that's who I am. All right, so what we've got here. So I'm using force effect, that being a free slot to get something cool done. This is just the start point, right? So what I've got is I've got a force effect, so I'm going to press force. I'm going to slowly freeze the blade from the bottom up. And this is my color for ice. And it's going to, so this is just the start point, but I just wanted to demo this. So the idea is we have a base red blade. When I do my force effect, I get a very slow creep of ice up the blade until it goes here. And then within this transition, so I had a 10,000 millisecond wipe to that ice color that I created. And then I have a 30,000 millisecond or 30-second delay. So it's going to hold that color for 30 seconds when you do force. And then when that 30 seconds is up, it's going to do another slow wipe back to red. So the idea behind this, and again, this is the bare bones animation, is I see some other New Yorkers in the house. Yeah, I'm from Yonkers originally, so not all that far from. Actually, I was closer to the Bronx, but then I bounced around the state as I got older. But pretty much New York City area, Westchester County. So yeah. So okay, so that's the basic idea. All right. So now, when you're freezing something, what I want to do is I want to have the ice, the freezing, actually really pop. So what we're going to do, and I keep switching gears with the chat, so I'm going to try to focus here and then get back to the chat. So I'm going to swap out my base layer, and I want to put some movement in so that I am able to really show what's happening with that freeze. So I'm going to do stripes. So stripes on a lot of styles provide great movement and animation if you style them right. And again, I'm cheating because I already put these colors together on purpose. So I'm going from a script because the last time I ran out of my script, I started making some silly mistakes. And I still have typo problems. My keys keep getting stuck. And then we'll do red. And then so with particularly with stripes, if you stay in the same color family, and we'll submit this, you can get nice movement on the blade. So this is it's not a particular style. I built this one, although I actually kind of like it's close to my slow pulse or rolling pulse from the library. It's purposely sped up, but it's similar to that. But it's the idea is I wanted a base style, and I might add this to the library as a base style eventually. But I want a base style with animation because I want to actually make it look like the blade is actually freezing. All right. So now what we're going to do is we'll take a look. So I've got my animation now, and now when I do my force effect, that ice is going to creep up and it's going to stop the animation by wiping over it. So this is, it's only a little bit better because as stuff freezes, it doesn't just go from fast to stopped, it actually slows down. And this is where multi-transition effect is going to come in. So I have one effect, one transition effect built already for force. You can do transition effect and transition effect for the same effect, but as Frederick was explaining it when he was putting it together, it's better for triggering if you have multiple styles that are going to run off the same effect to use multi-transition effect, because there's another variable in that mix that makes sure that all of them happen. So say you built out like 3 or 4 effects that are all going to trigger on one effect, like a blast or a clash or a force. You want to make sure that they actually all do trigger. How he was explaining is having that other variable that allows for that to, I guess, carry through. I'm probably not explaining it correctly, but to have that effect not just hit that first one and then stop, have it hit and launch all of them together. We use multi-transition effect. That's really the only difference. There is a variable at the end. It defaults to 3. You can change it if you're going to do more, but for tonight, I'm just going to use the 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change transition effect to multi-transition effect. You can do multi-transition effect L with just one effect. It doesn't do anything bad. It's just you want to use it if you're going to do more than one effect, which is what we're going to do here. So I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to put a new line in. This way you can use the controls on the side if that's more what you're used to, but I am more used to hand coding, so I go this route. So what I want to do is, all right, I've got my red moving stripes blade, which is like a quick moving pulse, and then I've got my ice that wipes over it, which is freezing it. But as it's freezing, I want to slow this down. So I want to make it seem like it's really freezing. So we're going to build a multi-transition effect that slows down the stripes. So now I've got to build this one. So we're going to go, so I need a stripes in there. Let's see. Helps when you read your own handwriting. That's what I wanted. So I'm going to add a really long fade that matches that wipe effect. So if you see here in the ice coming over, so this is the ice transition that's going to wrap over it using a wipe. During that wipe period, I'm going to put this fade. So the fade is going to switch that fast stripes for a slower one, which I'm going to put in now. Really slow it. Actually, you know what? I'm going to even, this is what I think I ended up doing in my second test. I'm going to just have it go static. Plus it'll shortcut because I'm seeing my clock moving too quick. You can slow the stripes down by just changing this second value, which I think I did in my notes, but I think after testing I found it actually better this way. And this will get added to library when it's all done, and I have some time. It might be a couple days because I'm finishing up battle mode, but this will be coming to the library. So I'm going to just go static red, and then I'm going to add my delay so that it holds itself. And that delay is going to match the delay below. And then we're going to close that, and we're going to go effect, force, and our comma, submit. All right, so now this is, and I'm not done yet. I'm going to go with my force effect. My force effect is going to start to freeze the blade. As that blade is freezing, you'll see the ice wiping over. You'll also see it go from this movement to a frozen red until it gets overtaken completely. So now as that red fades in, that rolling motion starts to disappear. And you can tweak up and down, but that's getting there. That's a little bit better. But I'm not done yet. So what I'm going to do next, and I'm going to do this on the side just so I don't mess everything else up. I'm going to add one more transition effect, or one more multi-transition effect right here. And that's because I want the ice to have some movement to it as it's overtaking the blade. So I'm going to add a multi, and then I want that to be my base. And I'm not, so those of you who have seen the crash courses, layers typically have the L at the end. I'm actually doing a fixed style because I want a base color of one thing, and I want it to transition during, it's actually going to be transitioning as it's transitioning and then doing a transition. So I'm using the regular one, doesn't have the L. This isn't a layer, this is a base style. It's part of the layer. So now we're going to go here. We're going to go to have it, I want to actually give this movement. So the transition I'm going to go to is going to be moving ice, but it's going to be slow moving. And again, I did a lot of messing around to get to this point, so this isn't like that there's work involved getting here. It's not, you're not going to jump in and just have this come together. Oops, yeah. And again, I kind of mess with color mixes to get movement and effects that I like. That's my stripes. And we're going to delay it. Oops. No, this is the transition, multi-transition effect. So I'm going to fade this one. I'm going to make this one take longer than the wipe. So the wipe is 10,000 milliseconds. I'm going to make this one be a 15,000 millisecond, and then we're going to delay it for the 30. And then we're going to do effect force and select that, and that's in there. So now when I do, and this is just this portion of it, when I do the force effect, I should get a fade. That's good, although I think I flipped this. I think you're supposed to be second. I did flip it. Notes were backwards. We're going to put the solid color right there. So stripes is first. I want stripes to be the base layer. So that's going to be there. And then I'm going to, okay, so that's good. So now let's go up to the whole thing and start over again. So quick moving blade. Hit my force effect. Slowly gets overtaken by moving ice that's slower. The red is slowing down to a solid red. The ice is overtaking it. And now that ice is going to slow and solidify. And there you go, ice blade. So now this is going to sit. So I'm going to talk your ear off for 30 seconds while it sits. And then it's going to start to heat itself back up from the hilt. And that's because the second transition that we put in to the very original effect, where are you? Down. You should be right there. Nope. Where did I put you? Oh, you're at the bottom. Is that wipe at the end. So that's this guy. So that's it warming back up and taking over. And then the very last piece of the puzzle is doing a join. I see the chat. So sorry I didn't catch up to you guys. Let me finish this out for everybody and then get back into the chat. So what I'm going to do is that very end wipe, which is this guy here. We're going to do a TR join, which basically lets you take two transitions and have them run together. So I'm going to join that wipe, and I'm going to do a fade with it. And I'm going to make the fade just a little bit longer than the wipe. Let's just see if that's right. Okay, now we're going to have to wait a minute for this to go. Actually, let's see, it should be doing it. So that'll be pretty good. Yeah, that's what I'm going for. So now this will be the end of it. So I've got fast moving blade. So what's going to happen is when this gets added to the library, it will be a force effect. It will be the ice part. Your base blade, this red moving, can be whatever you want. So the way the library is built with enhancements, you'll get the ice freezing blade. And I'm going to show you guys, I actually have it loaded up on my Saber, so I'll show you what it actually looks like. Close enough. So let's get force effect. Ice is overtaking my blade. It's slowing down the red. And you can change that transition on that red slowing. And now we're going to have it come back. Melting tip of ice. Yeah, I mean, we can add so much more to it, Brian. So that's the crazy part is this is, I kind of came up with this. I'll probably play with it a little more before it hits the library. I was working on it last night to get ready for today. But there's so much more we can do with this. I wanted something pretty good, but yeah, I mean, we can, that's the great thing with Profit. You can take this and move forward. But now, so that ice is melting, so it's not, that end tip is going to start to turn red as we go. until it overtakes. And again, the reason that ice stays there on the blade and creates that ice blade. So I'm almost thinking like, you know, I'm an 80s kid, so I'm almost thinking the Spider-Man and his friends when the Iceman covers himself, turns into an ice block and breaks free. That's kind of the concept, is the ice overtakes your blade, turns it into a solid ice blade, but then obviously the energy will overtake it and melt it. And that TR delay of the 30,000 milliseconds is what lets that ice blade stay. But let me show you guys on the blade. Let me switch gears here. Go back to my little corner. I gotta take your chat off so I'm not blocking everybody's screen. All right, so let's get this up.
Lord Vader.
All right, so I can't tell if I'm on screen or not. I should have moved that camera better. All right, so here we go. So this is that base, and I'm going to peek, make sure. Okay, it's pretty well on screen. So it's got that fast movement that we created, and it's meant to be kind of a quick pulse. Now I'm going to do my force effect. I've got my ice overtaking. The ice has movement, and the red is going to start to go solid. That ice is now going to slow itself down into that solid color. And there we go. Now we've got a solid blade of ice, and this will sit for 30 seconds. And I'm sure somebody out there, I know Brian does sounds, and Jesse and all you sound guys, I'm sure somebody come up with a really cool force effect sound that sounds like crystallization of ice. That would work even better. I'm just using the Rogue One font, just the force stroke. And I mean, you could time it out if you wanted to. So the effect, and now here comes the warm up, and then you'll get it wipe up, and then that top will start moving, and it'll get back to its full thing. And because it's a force effect, you can keep doing it over and over again. So now you would have that ability. So it'll be coming to the library, and I'll play with it a little bit, Brian. But once you get a hold of it, if you want to do more with it, that's the great thing. Like I've said multiple times, my library is really kind of a start point. It's definitely never the finish line. Let me switch back here. So, cool. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Yeah. Thanks, Sebastian. Thanks, Jeff. And yeah, once it's so I will add that. It'll be a force effect that you can add to any style on the enhancement screen. You can put it on, obviously, on moving blades. It'll look better. Fire, anything like that, it would look better. It might be slightly different because now Brian has me thinking some other stuff I can do for it. But there'll be more coming. Oh, last piece of the puzzle. I've got a couple minutes before I go off. If you have questions, drop them in the chat now. I'm just going to show one more thing, and then I'll get to questions. But I am going to have to cut out. Hey, Rashimoto, sorry you're late. This will be on my site to catch up. There's a lot of stuff earlier. I do, just because kids and stuff, I do have to sign out at 10. I kind of carved this hour out. But let's see. So I want to show. So if, say, you wanted to have this same exact effect but not be a force effect, you could put it on anything. And how you do that is just in that effect type. Now, we're using multi-transition effect, and there's 3 of them, so you're going to find the 3 locations. But if we turned this into stab, which I might be doing for the library, turn this into stab. And where's my last one? It's buried in here, isn't he? There he is. Turn that into stab. And you're going to want to make sure you get all of them. Then what would happen is the summon and release effects that I have for stab would now make your blade freeze. So you can take that exact, you can technically any effect in my library or any effect you design with ProffiOS, you can swap it for a different effect. So I just swapped the force effect that was triggering it to be stab. So now when I do my stab, the same exact thing will happen. I'll probably, I'll build it as a force effect first, and then depending on time, I'll get it added as the summon and release effects. So that you can, if you wanted to use it in stab as a stab trigger. But what the effect type in all of these styles, particularly the transition effect and multi-transition effect, is is just what triggers it. That's essentially it. And you can mix and match what triggers it. You can make it be your blast. You can make it be your clash. You can make it be your, force blast. Technically, you can do it as preons and post-offs and all that other stuff. So you can definitely do a lot more with it than even what is initially designed for. Oh, cool. Yeah, I'll get it. I'm gonna get it on the library as soon as I have the time. So I'll try to work it in the next day or two. But if you guys get around to it and have it working, definitely enjoy it. And I'll probably tweak it out a little bit more. But if there's, let's see. Oh, and I missed a question. Let me answer Max's question. In the library, if you wanted to use a different color, where would you need to change it? Which color? I guess if you wanted a different color for the ice, it would be in the transition effect itself, and there's going to be several of them. It will be, the enhancement itself will be the enhancement itself would be only the ice color on purpose. But if you wanted to swap it, if you're in here, each transition effect, you're going to look for that color you want to swap out. Now in this case here, it's going to be this RGB combo. And then because I have the movement one, if you remember, the stripes here are also related. And what these are is they're two different versions of that color. So what I do for movement, and this is just for anything, particularly if you want to use stripes for movement, if you have a base color, what I usually do is I try to go up at least 50% in value and down 50% in value from that point and put them into moving stripes, with the stripes being pretty large. That gives you that undulation. And what it actually is it's because you have a bright stripe moving up followed by a dim stripe. And that's what pretty much creates this effect. And the stripes just has a lot of animation possibilities because you can control the speed. So if I just change this first number, you can have it really slow down. You can also revert. So negative in stripes, I think I've had this in other videos, but negative stripes moves from the hilt up. If you change it to a positive number, it will move towards the hilt. So you can do, just in terms of just layering up these animations, you can actually do a lot with the stripes to get animations. Stripes don't have to be different colors. If you keep them in the same color family and play with that speed stuff, as well as the size of the stripes, you can actually create some pretty cool effects. So this is going backwards. So if we were to have the tip freeze down, which would probably be a variation, all you would do is flip this, and then you would change the TR wipe to TR wipe in, etc. So all these are editable. You can go to town on them, but you're basically going to look for the colors that you want to have swapped out. And just one last thing, particularly my ice color. When I design silvers, or like this is kind of a bluish silver, I purposely don't go full power. And the reason for that is when you're, particularly on your blade, if you're doing effects, and I know other people have different opinions, I usually like my effects to be in white. If you have a blade that's almost white, and you have a clash and a blast that is white, you can't see them. So I typically don't go full power on my silvers. When you're actually looking at them on your actual blade, the difference between full, if you have a full white color blade and like a silver blade, which is, say like 150, 150, 150, instead of being 255, 255, 255, your eye doesn't see a lot of, if you're in that, not quite half to, if you're around like 75% value, your eyes, for me, I don't see huge differences in color, but it lets the blast and clash show through. So that's basically why I usually run, you'll notice most of my silvers in the library, and in this case, this ice one, I don't go all the way up to white when I'm doing it. Part of it is it saves some power on NeoPixel. Part of it is to let those other effects show through. And part of it's just a lot of testing and seeing what actually looks good. And I make sure it looks good to me. And then if it's something you don't like or you want to change it, that's the whole great thing with the editor. Thanks to everybody who stuck with us the whole time. I'll be on next Tuesday, I'm pretty sure. I'll probably be looking to take questions on battle mode, which those of you who are joining late, battle mode will be in alpha testing. It should be at some point this week in the next couple of days. I'm finishing up with Frederick, just making edits and cleaning stuff up so that it's ready for everybody to play with. And if you missed the beginning of the video, I showed everything, including the multi-blast actually works with, excuse me, my throat's dry, battle mode. So all that's coming this week. But I'm going to head out, and I'll see everybody next week. And as soon as it's available for alpha testing, I will let everybody know. And thanks for joining, and hope you all enjoy. Everybody have a good night. Thanks so much.